has there ever been taller odds on a rider at the start of a race weekend than Brad Binder heading to the Czech Republic MotoGP? MotoGP's newest winner was undoubtedly the star performer in Brno, but he wasn't the only one. Then again, there were plenty of others that fell well short of expectations. Here we round up the winners and the losers from the Czech MotoGP. What can you say? There was a point in the Czech MotoGP where we were simply getting excited at the prospect of a Brad Binder KTM podium, but it just kept going. Indeed, we've had shock wins in MotoGP before, but this very well may be the biggest of a generation. There are many landmarks to savour here. KTM's first win, and only its second podium, victory for Binder in only his third MotoGP race, and the first South African to win in the Premier class. But perhaps best of all is how it was achieved so beautifully. Having already turned heads with strong pace, if not consistency, in Jerez, Binder only really made his first impression this weekend when he popped into Q2 and placed it 7th on the grid. However, armed with a visibly much improved RC16, Binder was the only rider moving forward as others slipped back in a performance that belied his experience. Indeed, it's hard to believe this was only his third race. If you thought Fabio Quartararo's rise to superstardom was rapid and unexpected, Binder might well have just gone and trumped it. Johan Zarco has spoken at length at how he needs to feel happy and contented in himself to perform at his best. So judging by his performance in Brno, he is definitely in a very good place right now. While a Ducati GP19 is still a weapon at certain venues, Zarco's pole position and podium, via the best long lap penalty execution we have ever seen, will have far exceeded even the most optimistic of expectations. It's a credit to Avintia Racing, which has made do with a shoestring budget in relative terms for years, for making the most of that new satellite dish, that Ducati status, and brought out the best in a rider that not all that long ago was a regular podium contender. While pole position was his headline of the weekend, Zarco put in a race performance second only to Binder, shrugging off a slow start and fighting his way back into the mix, rather than be swallowed up like he seemed to be expect. Then again, we'd have included him in his list for that long lap penalty, knee down, dusty edge of the track, alone. Unless you are closely associated with one of the losers from this weekend, there is no denying that MotoGP was a big winner as a whole. While it doesn't quite feel like a changing of the guard since the old guard appeared to underperform mostly this weekend, it's hard to remember a time when MotoGP felt this open. Naturally, without Marc Marquez, there is a big shoe to fill, but it's encouraging to see the belief up and down the grid, across all manufacturers, that they can come forward and grab even just a bit of the limelight. Indeed, with the factory riders with Yamaha, Ducati, Suzuki and Honda all slipping below par expectations already this year, flashes of greatness from lesser fancied riders like Brad Binder, Miguel Oliveira, Takaki Nakagami, Aleix Espargaro and Johan Zarco means if you enjoy MotoGP for its sheer competitiveness, then this is potentially a golden age for the sport. You can imagine Ducati smiling through gritted teeth as celebrated, possibly for the first time, a brilliant result for Avintia Racing because it's somewhat ironically shone some harsh lighting on the plight of the factory-backed teams. With Andrea Dovizioso suggesting Ducati has gone the wrong way with the design of its GP20, the Italian's opinion, which is unlikely to have gone down terribly well amid those contract talks, looked to have been vindicated this weekend by the wholesale struggle of the manufacturer in Brno, a circuit it normally excels at. A 10th and 11th from even lower starting positions was hugely at odds with what was expected. Zarco's pole and podium, though richly deserved, does rather suggest Ducati may be longing for the GP19 again if it has any chance of scoring in what is a relatively open goal left by Marquez's absence. Was Marc Marquez the biggest winner in Brno, even in absentia? Perhaps not, but the Spaniard watching from home will have probably cracked a wry smile over the fact his perceived title rivals didn't come close to capitalising fully on his lack of presence. Jack Miller called Marquez's budding success young sharks, smelling blood in the water. Most found themselves blindly heading in the wrong direction in Brno. To his credit, Fabio Quartararo slugged it out for a strong showing despite never feeling entirely comfortable on the Petronas SRT Yamaha all weekend, with his eventual 7th place the result of his tyre rather than a general lack of pace. Granted, the same could be said for Maverick Vinales, but while Quartararo wrung the Yamaha M1's neck for 9 points, Vinales' only direction on Sunday was backwards to 14th. Not a customary position by any stretch, but it's not the first time we've seen Vinales turn in the odd anomalous result that raises questions as to his title credentials. If Marquez needed any more motivation to get fit in time for Austria this weekend, the tepid efforts of his rivals will probably spur him on to get back sooner. Then again, he may have gotten some extra push from watching a torrid weekend for his Repsol Honda team, as they showed just how much they need their world champion, a as Alex Marquez and Stefan Bradl barely made an imprint on proceedings. On a weekend that saw his Moto2 title rival Binder blossom into a superstar, Alex Marquez qualified at the back and could only manage a single point, as he continued to wrestle with the rigours of a Honda setup for his more compact brother. While the signing of Pol Espargaro for 2021 is primarily designed to avoid these situations, it's come a little too late for a title-winning team that looked anything but in Brno. Now, Honda won't want Marquez to return too early and risk more damage to its prized asset, but if he doesn't make it back for one of the 2 Austrian races, it's going to be a very long couple of weeks for the team.